Thank you very much for watching. Welcome back. The new capital requirement for insurance companies is likely to be pegged at 50 million cedis. That's according to the Commissioner of Insurance, Justice Yao Ofori. He spoke with Joy Business on the sidelines of a cocktail reception with insurance companies. There's more in this report.
Insurance companies are currently required to have 15 million cedis before they can do business in the country. The proposed increment, according to the regulator, has been influenced by current developments in the economy. It is also to help insurance companies to absorb heavy industry risk. The National Insurance Commission is considering the second quarter of next year as the possible implementation date for the new capital requirement. Speaking to Joy Business after a cocktail organized by the NIC, the Commissioner, Justice Yao Ofori, however, said implementation of the new minimum capital would happen after conclusion of existing discussions with all players.
It's a tough call, but I should expect something around 50 million should be okay, looking at the way, looking at the nature of insurance business in Ghana. With the advent of this oil and gas and other things, it means that local companies should actually build capacity. So we're looking at how we don't actually close down companies, but there's a lot of thinking that is going on, and we'll come out with an outcome.
As part of measures to boost confidence in the insurance sector, the Commission has pledged commitment to crack the whip on insurance companies which fail to pay claims. Here's the board chair of the Commission, Ray Ankara.
We will weed out bad nuts. Those insurance companies who are not doing the right thing, you are on notice. The National Insurance Commission will not hesitate to crack the whip where we find that companies are not doing the right thing and are not complying with the rules. For those insurance companies who do not pay claims, who do not do the right thing, we are serving you notice now, because we are coming after you. We will make sure that you do the right thing, and if you don't want to do the right thing, you might as well just get out of the industry.
Meanwhile, Deputy Finance Minister Charles Edubuahin is urging the Insurance Commission to work with the ministry to develop a new act next year to strengthen the insurance sector.
I expect the NIC to work with the Ministry of Finance in 2018 to pass a new act. The act should adequately address minimum capital needs, risk-based capital needs, corporate governance, consumer protection, and transparency. The Act, when passed, should provide the needed legal environment for the implementation of the best regulatory practices to ensure a safe and sound insurance market that is able to support the government's economic transformation agenda.
The National Insurance Commission is looking at introducing a database to curb fake insurance. This database, when introduced, will be in a form of a mobile app.
Let's now move on to other stories. And disbursement of about 3 billion cedis of Tier 2 pension contributions of public sector workers to their fund managers will start this week. 5% of monthly pension deductions from salaries of public sector workers from 2010 were locked up in a temporary pension fund account at the Bank of Ghana. This was to allow the pensions regulator to finalize licenses of scheme managers before the required transfers were made. Delays in moving the funds, as well as clarity on contributions, resulted in agitations from public sector workers, with some threatening to strike. Hayford Atta Kufi is Chief Executive of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority.
The process has begun for the transfer of the TPFA to the various 4 schemes, which is the public sector schemes. Of course, there has been the process which began in 2015, where the private sector funds have been moved, and we have now tackled the public sector. So hopefully this week, by the end of this week, every fund, there's a 3 billion cedis fund here, which we are talking about, which is going to be transferred to the 4 schemes. The 4 main schemes are the Ghana Education Service Scheme, the Health Sector Scheme, the Civil and the Local Government Workers Scheme, and of course the Judicial Service Workers Scheme. So all those public sector workers are going to get their money, which is going to be in government securities ranging from 1 year to 15-year bonds.
And do you think that these players are well equipped now ground to take on these funds?
Well, we have had a long engagement with the scheme owners. We have had engagement with the trustees. We've had engagement with all the industry players, and we have basically given them the investment policy or the investment guideline of the NPRA, so that we know which asset classes and where they should reach in terms of the ceiling.
It's alive on the marketplace, and interest rates are yet to witness any substantial drop for this year, despite the significant drop in the policy rate. Now, my colleague George Yafe has been going through the latest Bank of Ghana data on the industry interest, and now joins me in the studio as usual to give us some more updates. George, you're welcome.
Thank you so much,
Now,
Yafe.
give us some initial background to this data.
So the Bank of Ghana has been trying to track all the rates that the commercial banks put out. And that's what they call the annual percentage rates and average interest. So when it comes to, for instance, commercial banks, when it comes to commercial loans, let's look at agri, let's look at commerce, let's look at manufacturing, let's look at all the 31 banks and how the actual rate that we have paid when you walk into a commercial bank after all those deductions have been done and all those decisions have been added to that loan. What are you going to pay on it every month? And that is what the Bank of Ghana puts out. So they put out this long data of all these 31 banks, what they are charging people or what they charged a customer when it came to construction, when it came to agri loan, when it came to a loan for mortgage, a loan for vehicle. And they put this data together and then they release it to the public. They listen, this was the actual rate that you were paying if you had gone or if you have taken a loan from the bank. So that's the whole rationale behind this regular publication of this annual percentage rates and average interest, and not just on credit alone, but also deposits. And it gives you a fair idea about how much a bank is paying on that savings that you put at their disposal for them to manage for you and on lend it to businesses and make some profit out of it.
All right, so what exactly are the numbers saying about the average interest rates and the deposits?
So if you try and do a year-to-date calculation from January to November this year, you will see that in terms of reduction in the cost of credit or interest rates, it's gone down by almost 2%. Now, why are people worried? You look at the fact that if you compare it to those basic indicators that you would want to look at that should influence your cost of credit, like inflation, like the treasury, the rate at which government is borrowing from these commercial banks, and also the cost of credit, or if you should turn to the commercial bank or turn to the Bank of Ghana for overnight lending. How much does the bank lend to you? And you've seen that there has been a significant drop in the cost of credit, even though some might argue that the Bank of Ghana is still charging around 20% or even 19% when it comes to interest rate. But there has been a significant drop. So people were expecting that that would also impact on the cost of credit by these commercial banks. But some would say that it is not that significant. If you also look at what they actually are paying depositors when you keep their funds with them, it's also negligible, just under 1% over the period. So that is what you see. And if you do the industry analysis, if you do the industry extrapolations, in terms of cost of credit really coming down, we haven't seen significant reduction in the cost of credit. But if you also engage the commercial banks, they will tell you that we should expect some significant drop from next year, because that repricing in terms of people taking funds, they've paid it, now you have access to those funds, it is cheap, you want to unlend it to people. That is maybe possibly from January next year, we could see some marginal or significant drop if you should walk into that commercial bank looking for that loan to build that beautiful house of yours, which I know you have fixed.
Sure, I'll readily do that. Now, is the latest data giving us a wind of where or the best place to secure credit by businesses? And
it looks like that crown will still be on the head of Bank of Baroda, because when it came to construction loan, when it came to agri loan, when it came to commerce loan, they are still offering between 24 to about 30% in terms of the real interest that you pay on that loan. And if you compare to the other 30 banks, it looks like they had the best rates or the best cost in terms of what you actually pay on their loan. If
Yeah,
you look at
for some time.
for quite a long while, so
Yeah.
it looks like the crown is really for them. And if you really want to take them off, you really have to fight hard to take that crown from them in terms of the best institution offering that best interest to depositors and even those who want to take loan from them. If you look at the flip side in terms of deposit, now some have argued that deposit is also most in banking. It's about how you're able to attract deposits and then lend it to people.
Yeah.
And you look at the big banks and you look like they have other means of getting these cheap credit, but the small banks are offering quite high rates. So Omni Bank is offering almost 14.7% or so to deposit in terms of the interest that they pay to depositors on an annual basis. And they also pick the crown here, maybe Miss Ghana crown, or maybe call it Mr. Ghana crown here.
Mr. Bank,
as in the best bank that offers the highest interest on deposits.
That's quite significant. Now, why has the Bank of Ghana been doing this?
Well, the Bank of Ghana has been trying various modules in trying to convince people to drop interest rates. So the Bank of Ghana believes that, okay, if this data is put out, we can let someone like Yafi appreciate that when he takes credit from Bank A, this is what you're actually paying. So you have this data available to shop around that, okay, do I need short-term credits when it comes to construction loans? Should I go to Bank of Baroda? Should I go to EcoBank? Should I go to Standard Chartered Bank? And they believe that what you and I are doing right now, coupled with putting out these numbers at their website again, can move the numbers and even compel the other banks that are charging very high rates.
Say it's kind of a disservice or undermining the other banks' activities, because for no maybe problem of theirs, they found themselves quite on the lower side of the ladder.
What are some of the tools available in banking for the regulator? It's about moral suasion. So maybe this might not be a direct definition of moral suasion, but what other tools at your disposal can you use to compel people to drop their rates? So if this news is out there that Bank of Baroda, some will say that where are they putting their funds? It's been argued that they just buy treasury bills, and that's why in terms of cost of capital, it's not a big problem for them, and they just buy treasury bills and they are doing so well. But indirectly, if you have that PR out there that you are not lending to businesses well, and people will look at all these other variables and say that, okay, maybe Abuajiri Afe Bank is cheating me, and I have to go to maybe George Afe's bank and get a very good rate. And
competitors.
I would drive those people to my bank. So it's all about the psyche and then the PR thing and the marketing thing, which the Bank of Ghana believes could help them in compelling these players to drop their rates.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you so much, Yafe. And I'll be coming to Emmanuel Abuajiri Afe Bank to get some loan.
Do come. My interest rate is going to fall significantly.
We will see to that one, Yafe. Thank you so much.
And that was George Yafe bringing us up to speed with the latest Bank of Ghana data, which is indicating a marginal decline in cost of credit despite significant cut in the policy rate for this year. Away from that, the Ghana Chamber of Mines is supporting government's initiative to commercialize local scientific creativity with $100,000. The Science and Technology Incubation Program is being undertaken by the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation to boost scientific innovation among young entrepreneurs. President of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Kwame Adokufo, spoke with Joy Business during the presentation of the check for $100,000 to government.
In March, when we visited the minister, and he indicated his commitment towards the setup of STEM incubation centers. So this really in fulfillment of that promise. What we know about it from what the ministry tells us is that this is to stimulate the interest of our youth in science and technology, which in today's world is really the game changer when you're talking cost and productivity. So it's very important our youth show an interest in the development of science, engineering, mathematics, and technology. Well, we must remember it's a collaboration between the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and that of Education. We only promise to make a donation to that cause. The overwhelming priority is on local content and integrating with other sectors of the economy, having the linkages to the different sectors to ensure that we support economic growth.
The Institute of Customer Service Professionals is embarking on a campaign to name and shame all public and private entities who deliver poor customer service to their clients. President of the Institute, Yvonne Ohui McCarthy, says the move forms part of efforts to ensure customer service to attract foreign investments in the country. Charles Aite has been interacting with her at the launch.
The Institute of Customer Service Professionals has recently, launched the Customer Service Excellence Awards as well as the Customer Service Index. And of course, we're here with the president of the Institute to find out from her issues related to customer service here in Ghana and other matters arising. Hello, Yvonne. Welcome to the marketplace. So first of all, help us understand the urgency of this very launch, especially in tackling the, health of customer service here in Ghana.
I like the fact that you use the word health. So customer service is sick in Ghana. Customer service is not malaria. It's a very, very serious illness. This is very, very important now because we're moving into areas where we need to be able to prove that we understand business. And in order to prove that you understand business, you need to have a good grasp of customer service. So the Institute of Customer Service Professionals seeks to solely dedicate itself to professionalizing customer service in Ghana. So we're looking at educating people in that area. We're looking at helping businesses grow, serve as an incubator for them. We're also looking at being the eye for the customer and doing things like mystery shopping or really going hard, naming and shaming people who are not doing things correctly. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we also have the Research Institute, because a lot of the things that we plan on doing would have to come with policies, would have to come with strategies. And we can't come up with strategies if we have not researched the particular area. So we would also do some kind of research. And all these things have been important 10 years ago. It's always been important, but we're working on that now.
Help us understand the cost analysis in terms of the effects of poor customer service here in Ghana and its relation to the economy, because we do know that the GIPC recently stated its intention of bringing in more foreign investors. So if you're having a weak customer service base, and of course we're having it in the opposite of government attracting so much foreign investors, do you think there is a disconnect?
There's a big disparity. I think you cannot claim to be, wanting to be an equitable partner to someone who's coming from outside, such as an investor, and not be able to understand what you need to do to sustain a business. Because for them, they understand customer service. They do it right. They hold people accountable. So we also need to get into that sphere where we understand customer service, we hold people accountable, and we know what to do to sustain a business. That's absolutely necessary. Now, you spoke about the cost-benefit analysis. Look, I cannot tell you in monetary-wise, what you lose when you give bad customer service, because people can sit in their homes and decide not to come to you, and you would never know about them. So it definitely does affect the economy if customer service is poor. Now, if you want to see the difference, go to the jurisdictions where customer service is done properly, and you can compare in the same sector, maybe sectors that we're even better off in terms of resources. You can compare the patronage of the service. It's only because the customer service is good in those areas. So it is something you would definitely lose if you don't give excellent customer service or if you don't understand the value of customer service to your business. You can't put a value, you can't put a price on what you stand to lose if the customer service is not done properly.
Over the years, we have come to hear about so many customer service advocates and, of course, advocacy centers like yourself, of which we've heard from the official from the Ministry of Business Development saying that there is a need for a radical approach to addressing the issues of customer service in Ghana. What is it with the case with your institute? Are you going to be, as we did here, naming and shaming people who do offer poor customer service, or is it going to be a different radical approach?
We're going to do mostly all of the things that they've done, but we're also going to take the radical approach. I think with customer service, you cannot take the radical approach and not have a solution to the problem. So if I rant and rave and I tell them you need to do ABC, well, okay, we understand we have a problem, where do we go to? So that's where the Institute comes in. The Institute is then there to baby you and educate you and guide you to be able to do the right thing. So yes, you're right that we've had some experts, over the years, but we do something completely different. We're not into just going to corporate organizations and, saying we'll organize trainings for you. It's actually opened.
Charles Aite interacting with the president of the Institute of Customer Service Professionals in Accra. Now, some LPG marketing companies are stepping up efforts to enhance safety procedures at various outlets to avert explosions during the Christmas season. This is in response to fire outbreaks associated with the sale of gas for domestic use, especially during the Yuletide and dry seasons. Some LPG distributors are therefore embarking on safety campaigns as part of initiatives to reduce such incidents, especially during the Yuletide. Jessica Foley is acting head of business development of Express Gas Limited.
Statistics has said that majority of accidents reported at the Kolebu Teaching Hospitals, and most importantly, they are reconstructive, plastic surgery, and burn center. Has said that majority of those accidents are LPG related. The Gas Safety First campaign is a program that seeks to sensitize and also educate LPG users and consumers about how to handle LPG in cooking, especially in this festive season, because there'll be lots of cooking, and when there are lots of cooking, you know, cooking sometimes come with accident and all that. So we want to make sure that the customer is well informed, well educated, and knows how to handle LPG. Safety First campaign is going to be rolled out through social media and community activation. So community activation, where you have ambassadors at various and vantage points. We have Legon, Westlands, Hacho, Madina Zongo Junction, with Christmas greeting cards, where we have the tips in there for the user, for the customer. And then also on social media, we are going to be putting tips on the platforms such as Facebook and then Twitter as well.
Now, the Public Interest Accountability Committee, PIAC, has commended the Parliamentary Select Committee on Finance for its role in the Oil Revenue Management Report. PIAC therefore believes that the involvement of Parliament in the monitoring of projects undertaken from funds from the oil revenue is very crucial to the sustainability of petroleum funds.
The seriousness they attach to the various findings and recommendations in the report. One of them has been the phantom projects that seem to be pretty widespread across the country. Projects that are supposed to be funded with oil revenues but are non-existent. The position of the Committee of Parliament, that's the Finance Committee, is to order the Finance Minister to ensure compliance with the 2018 budget. And our checks reveal that indeed it's been complied with, and I'm referring here specifically to Section 48 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, where it is required of the Minister for Finance in his reconciliation report to Parliament to indicate the state of completion of oil-funded projects. There's been an attempt, and the records show that about 110 projects has been physically inspected by the ministry with the support of the Ministry of Planning, and so the stage of implementation of these projects have been indicated.
Well, this is where we draw the curtain down on this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. It's been great having you on board as usual. Join me again, same time tomorrow for more interesting developments in the world of business. My name is Emmanuel Apwachi. Have a good afternoon.